And Marcus Marshall carrying our onboard cameras. So too is Alex Davison. What a return he has made to Australia, winning the opening race from Jim Richards. Matthew Coleman, a good solid start to his weekend. He's on row 2 alongside Kevin Bell, the Kiwi. Davison's teammate Tim Lay will start from the 3rd row, but it's Davison who's impressed this field, including Jim Richards, and Tim Hodges caught up with him a short time ago.
You've seen him come along as a kid. He really has turned into a pretty good driver, hasn't he?
Yes, I did. I seen him in Formula Ford and he was outstanding there. And he drove the Grand Prix against us and won 3 races. So I think the competition obviously in Germany is far, far greater than it is here. And he's driving extremely well, and that's how it should be.
Should be a great go off the front row.
I hope so, yeah.
Clark, it was a great duel in race 1. We were on board with you. It was a wild ride.
Yeah, it was. It was a great ride with Jonathan Webb and Kevin Bell in front of me. And then in the later race, Tim Lay behind me. So it was a good race.
You're off the 3rd row for race 2. Nothing to lose?
Nothing to lose, that's right. Last race of the year, pretty much. Just try and get a good start and keep up front with the front-run guys. If I can stay in front with them, then I usually can kind of hang on to them. So hopefully that'll be the plan.
Clark's dad, Tony Quinn, is off the rear of the grid beside Jeff Morgan. Warm conditions at Eastern Creek Raceway as we get set to do battle. Richards to the left-hand side of your screen. Alex Davison to the right. Richards makes a great start. What about the start, though, from Matthew Coleman? He has slingshotted from row 2 up into 2nd place, Brad Jones.
To be the start of the year for Matt, I think he certainly took off like a scalded cat. Up into 2nd place, he'd be very, very proud of himself right now, I would think.
Matthew, former teammate to Brad Jones, in fact, dating back to the Audi Super Touring days. As we ride now with Marcus Marshall chasing Kevin Bell. Off to the outside is Jonathan Webb. There's Webb now, so Marshall is by. Good strong run as well, or a good strong start, certainly, for Rodney Jane. Lock up there by the sounds of it from Marshall.
That's right, and these cars, look, a bit of contact there with Kevin Bell. These cars are moving around a lot. The tyres are cold. They're searching for grip, so they're working the car with the steering wheel as hard as they can, and that's why you see them look a little flighty and a little twitchy on the early laps.
It's interesting to note the way some of the guys have set their cars up in the warm conditions here this weekend. Even within the Greg Murphy Racing stable, there's a difference of opinion, I guess, in the setups between Tim Lay and Alex Davison. Davison finds his car comes on stronger on the Michelin control tyre as the race progresses, whereas Tim seems to get the better of it in the early part of the race.
And really, you could attribute part of that to driving styles, you know, how you work the car. It's a very, very much a personal thing. Clark's got a great start here, and he's back in front of Tim. And looks like the battle from race 1 has continued on here.
Down the front straight, here's Tim Lay zeroing in on Clark Quinn. Up to 6th gear. In the Boxer 6-cylinder engines. Wonderful sounding Porsches as they come through turn 1. Richards chasing Matthew Coleman. This is allowing Davison to clear out here. Richards using all of the track in his pursuit of Coleman, though.
And Matthew's doing a fantastic job. He stayed in front of Jim for that lap. He's got a bit of a gap, car length or 2. Richo's certainly not all over him at this stage, and he's throwing everything at him to try and get to Matt. Of course, he wants to get to Alex eventually. So the first 3 cars are spread out here, but Coleman's done a very impressive job. He's driving really well.
Here's Lay, the aggressor. Wants to prove to his team that he's a match for Davison. Oh, and that's a really aggressive move on Clark Quinn. Look at the way he's pointing the finger, and you could even hear him maybe killing some obscenities at Tim Lay. He obviously did not feel that pass was something that was on.
Well, from our angle, we could see Tim, as soon as he went over to the right side of the track, dive to the inside, and whether Clark didn't see him or he didn't feel he was far enough up there, he turned in, and of course there was contact, and it's really had a detrimental effect of both of these cars.
Particularly, look at Tim Lay's car. That Michelin tyre has come completely off the rim. He's going to be lucky to make it back to pit lane.
Let's have a look at this from the outside. Well, he's not looking like he's far enough up there, and that contact has really knocked them both around. Clark's spinning around on the outside, and we saw that it's taken the tyre off the rim on Tim's car.
Tim's had a number of visits to the stewards' room this year, and
I think he's about to have another one.
Yeah. Thomas Mazira is the driving standards observer in this category. And he'll be having a close look at that one. Look at John Tulin here. Lucky not to flip that car. That's a high-speed part of the track for that to happen, turn one, and that typically that gravel trap can really catch you if you're in a slide like that. Donald Kington there, team boss for the Quinn team. That's Clark's car back in pit lane.
And while all that's been happening, Richo's managed to find his way around Matthew Coleman, and he's now setting off after our race leader.
Well, he's got some work to do. Davison has really cleared out here and is banking some good, solid early lap times. Let's have a look at this. Is the pass. So Richards has obviously set that up coming into the top two turns and then maximised it on the front straight.
He's just got a little bit of a slipstream. He's got down the inside of Matthew and made the most of it. Late braking manoeuvre, nice clean move.
Back up toward turns 11 and 12 now. Kevin Bell fending off Marshall. Rodney Jane, good strong run from him. Here's Peter Fitzgerald. Haven't seen much of him so far this weekend. Bear in mind that he's had to work his way from the back of the grid forward in the Enyo Porsche. Ahead of him, Paul Pedersen. Second of the entries from Lyle Williamson's team, the Kiwi. And in behind them, Dean Cook, who's another that's been a regular in the top 10. Bell, by the looks of things, is making his way into pit lane, and that's a surprise. He's had a trouble-free run so far this weekend. They had a rush job repairing that car after some damage at the IndyCar round. But it's been a pretty faultless weekend for him. So a surprise there for Kevin Bell. In the meantime, the rest of the field make their way through turn two. We'll take a break here on trackside. The action in race two continues right after this. Welcome back to Eastern Creek as we put you in the passenger seat with Alex Davison. The view out the front, Brad Jones, is all clear. The reason being he's in the lead, but here's Jim Richards. You got a shot of him just there for a brief second. He's on the charge, Jimmy.
He is, and but Alex has been in this position before, someone trying to hunt him down. You look at his wheel work, he's very smooth. You don't see his head looking around. If you look into the rear vision mirror, you can see when he looks up, you'll see his eyes to look where Jim is, and he'd probably do that 2 or 3 times a lap just to make sure that he's maintaining the gap, or he's got one that he can keep until the end of the race.
And the officials are policing these race starts very closely. Kevin Bell, who we saw coming into pit lane just prior to the break there, has been given a drive-through penalty for a jump start. He incidentally will pick up the highest placed award for the Kiwi contingent in this series. He's had a pretty good year, Kevin Bell. Race wins in Darwin, but it's a pretty tough break here at Eastern Creek. Matthew Coleman.
And Matthew needs to just keep his head down. He's in 3rd position. He's losing it ever so slightly to the 2 leaders, and he's pulling away from the guys behind him. Marcus is on a hunt. He's trying to get to him, so he just needs to keep his head down, just make sure that he makes a workmanlike job, not miss any of his apexes, and just keep his eye on the gap to Marcus, who's after him as hard as he can.
Marshall has already secured the Rookie of the Year award, and courtesy of that wins a drive in the Europe Super Cup in 2004, 1 round at least. And the talk certainly from around the paddock here at Eastern Creek is that he's working very hard on trying to land a drive in the Porsche Super Cup for the entire season in 2004. Dr. Roger Oakeshott has a lose. So we jump back aboard Marcus Marshall's VIP Pet Foods Porsche. Tony Quinn's done a fantastic job this year giving opportunities to youngsters, and in particular this young man, Marcus Marshall, has really proven himself. Some very good, strong performances against the experienced Jim Richards. 1 pole position, has had race wins. Look at how much he closes in on Matthew Coleman there. That's just sheer bravery under brakes.
Well, he's like the guy with the wheelbarrow. He's got it all in front of him, and when you see someone this close, you drive off the back of their car a little bit. You see where they brake, you try and brake a fraction later, and he'll be working as hard as he can to brake a little later, get on the throttle a little earlier, and catch Matthew up so he can start to attack him. But catching him and passing him, I think they'll be 2 different things.
I reckon this bloke could have possibly any more on his plate this weekend. Tony Quinn, sponsor of the VIP Pet Foods main event at Eastern Creek. He's had an up and down start to the weekend, currently up in 8th spot. And here's his young teammate, has a look at Coleman. Good resistance there from Coleman.
Well, that could have ended in tears. He needs a little contact like that and you go around. Good driving by both these guys. Marcus getting on the brakes and Matthew leaving him a little room.
Bear in mind, only 6 Michelin tyres per car. That's got to cover them for qualifying and the 3 races.
And we just see Marcus just creeping up 200 brakes. He's on the throttle. He's down the inside. Oh, bit of contact.
Coleman defensive. Let's not forget, in competitive terms, no love lost between these two. Remember back to Sandown. That shocking rollover for Coleman after contact with Marshall. So,
well, he's made it quite loud and clear that he's not going to roll over and let Marcus by easily. So we've got a really interesting race to look forward to between these two, I think.
only corners remaining as far as Marshall is concerned if he's to try and get by him here. And trying every move in the textbook. Let's have a look.
We see Matthew moving over and there's a bit of contact there. Marcus holding his line. He's got out of it, jumped on the brakes.
Mid-track for the run down into turn 9. He's going to make it as hard as he possibly can for Marcus Marshall.
And Marcus is running so hard up at him at the middle of the corner. He's not getting a good run onto the straight to try and get by him at this very late stage of the race.
Right up onto that Vallelunga curbing. But here's Davison, and he will take the race victory, his second from as many starts in the weekend. Good fight from Jim Richards, but what about the lap times from Davison? Improves the lap record to a 1:35.22. He did that on lap 7. And Marshall unable to get by Coleman. Coleman hangs on for third.
Marcus, a major moment, a major scary moment.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary, me, Matt, having some good racing. And, you know, I was making my way through the field, and it was hard to catch, man.